So, I recently finally finished the game Well Beyond the Horizon. And I can say that was probably the best cliffhanger of the entire series. I seriously didn't expect that in a final chapter and ending, I had so many questions during the game that we still don't have answer to. But now, I have even more questions. There is so much I want to talk about right now. And that's what we're going to do in today's video. I also give my theories and speculation about what could come in the future, and about everything we saw in the finale in general. Be warned though, there will be spoilers if you haven't played the game. Now, let's get this started. First, let's talk about the end of the garden with Novartis. While playing the game and learning that the plot resolved around time, I suspected that it was from another timeline. The way he ate the three disciples, called him Stein his mentor, he has no record in the world about him, were also obvious hints. After the boss fight, it is confirmed that he came from another cycle. At that time, I didn't know about the Grand Reset yet, so I just thought he was from a different timeline. Even if this reveal wasn't that shocking, it raised two questions. The first is how he survived the Grand Reset of his cycle, and how he was brought into ours. By the Grandmaster? Or is he an anomaly like the Vestige? The second question is about Professor Einstein himself. Is the one from his cycle the same Einstein we know, who created the overall revolution? My theory is yes, because he knew the Grand Reset was coming. As he said in his journal, the world would end unless all the genetics are recovered by S-120 something. He even built the Tryon Tower, especially for the Genesis, as a failsafe against the Grand Reset. He also adopted Lilia Claudel, apparently the only family compatible with the Genesis power. There is no way he would have created the tower in the device without knowing about Larry Joint chess. And the only way to know about it is by either being part of the family the goddess treasure belonged to, or by having experienced the Grand Reset. So I'm pretty certain Einstein and Novartis survived the cycle Grand Reset and appeared in our timeline. Maybe thanks to the Genesis. Then, because he knew what was coming, Einstein created orbital technology so that Zemuria would be advanced enough to stop it. Either way, we will learn more in the next game, as we'll probably explore more of Novartis' past. Another surprise in the garden was seeing the Grandmaster for Ouroboros appear before us in the flesh. He showed no hostility, and even took the time to talk with us. It's the first time in the series that the hero directly interacts with her, so I was quite excited. And after knowing who Nina really is, I noticed that they have a lot of similarities. Could they both be saints, but from different time? Looking at their outfit design, they look quite similar, and even the way they talk feel alike. In terms of power, Capanella even states that Nina is as strong as the Grandmaster. I have three theories for this. The first is that Nina and the Grandmaster are part of Helios, or they are reincarnation of Helios herself from two different loops. My second theory is that the Grandmaster is Nina from another loop, possibly a potential future, similar to Reset. The third is that before Nina was born, the Grandmaster was a saint of the church. He could see in the future that a storm was coming that threatened Zemuria. However, she didn't agree with the method the church wanted to use to prevent this. So she left the church and created her own organization so she could save Zemuria her own way. I won't talk anymore about my Grandmaster theories, since I plan to make a video dedicated entirely to that in the future. Still, she is clearly someone divine, as she talked to Novartis like he was her child. Her voice is gentle and calm, and she looks benevolent. Even doesn't bother if we enter the portal behind her, which could give us a lot of answer about the world. We didn't enter it yet, but probably next game? I'm still surprised she left it open for us. Then she said we will meet again when the events turn. As always, a big mystery, but it was cool to finally see her outside the celestial globe. Even though the place had transformed into a similar appearance, that also means her memories are probably still intact after Agnes reset. Those scenes in space were freaking insane. And God, I was surprised to see they were there. The entire planet, if it even is one, is imprisoned inside some kind of giant barrier. Basically meant to prevent any Zemurian from getting out. Quite similar to the sea that never ends. Honestly, I was speechless. Especially when seeing the Sept-Terrion was a freaking gigantic cube. I didn't expect it to be so massive and threatening. I then wondered why the Sept-Terrion want to reset the world every time. And why is Zemuria surrounded by a strange barrier? Did the goddess create this to contain us? Or protect us from a dangerous threat? Whether barrier and the Sept-Terrion were already there before the Great Collapse, or did the barrier appear after? My guess is that the Sept-Terrion of Time went into space and created a barrier after the Great Collapse. Why does this always reset the world after this calamity? Why not reset it before the Great Collapse to prevent it? Surely there is a reason. Also, when it does a reset, it say regressing space-time to the aftermath of the Great Collapse. Septian Calendar Year 0. How can it know about the term Septian Calendar if it was created way before the calendar itself was made by the church? I also wonder if, at the end of Code Seal 4, the bad ending, Green Crow and Million pass through the barrier in space or simply stay in orbit around Zemuria. If that timeline existed and didn't change, could the Grand Reset would have happened sooner? Anyway, returning to the cutscene, I really loved seeing Emilia fighting in space, and then those robots arriving on the surface and beginning to destroy everything. It looked like an alien invasion of Zemuria. Then we even got a little gameplay section with Emilia in space. That was cool. When Calva launched thousands of missiles and immediately destroyed large giant chests, I really thought they had succeeded. To my surprise, the chest repaired itself. And a knight like Ishmega appeared and destroyed the Major in one blow. That's not something I expected. But can it really be him? It's possible that the Sept-Terrion could indeed have a version of Zolga itself from other timeline. At the same time, it could simply be a different type of Guardian. Either way, Emilia crashed on Creel, but we don't see if she died, since Hamilton seemed to have messed up with time again. With Agnes reset, it doesn't really matter, though. However, that wasn't the end, because another plot twist happened right after. You know Kincaid. He's always hiding something, doing things mostly for righteous or selfish reason. And he's a pragmatic individual. He didn't betray the president for helping Agnes or because he agreed with Hamilton. He probably required Agnes' little time reset because he's seeking something from Flyerjarn temporal abilities. When Elaine tells him that as childhood friends, she and Van know him very well, he responds that they don't know anything about him. Something probably happened in his past that nobody knew about. He have kept it secret. Maybe he made a mistake he regrets, or he lost someone he truly cared about. When he learned about the Sept-Terrion from Hamilton, I suppose he realized it. He could correct it by rewinding time. And so he became Grand El Shaddai in order to accomplish it. We still don't know how he got this form in the first place, or since when he has had it. Did he have it before joining the CID, or was it only recent? My guess is he got it recently from Hamilton. Probably around the same time Agnes learned the truth. Maybe Agnes asked for his help in case her father plans didn't work. Why do I think that? Well, it's simple. If he had been on Hamilton's side from the beginning, why would he have put a warrant on her? That wouldn't make any sense. Also, why would he have helped us in Anchorville against the Vestige? I believe he met Hamilton between Souls Haven, talked with her, and realized that the president plan would probably fail. I'm pretty sure he was originally on the president's side and hoped that the project would work. However, once he knew it would fail, he switched the Genesis with fake and gave the real one to Agnes. Then he fought us only to prevent them from stopping her. Even though I don't think they would have made it in time anyway. One thing is certain. He has his own personal goal. And would probably become Van rival in the next game. At least for a while. Once we understand and learn about this true motive, they may work together again. Honestly, I can't wait to see them fight again. Their rivalry at the end of Horizon was so good. It's kind of reminded me of Green and Crow in Code Steel 1 and 2. So, Agnes used the power of the Genesis to become a goddess, capable of modifying Larry-Joint chess reset abilities. However, she needed to erase her existence from Mother. I won't say she sacrificed herself, because technically she's not dead. It's just that no one will remember her, at least most people. We don't see her disappear. Instead, we see people's memories of her vanish. So I have a feeling she's going to be somewhere watching our quiet solution, and the other to see what happened. At some point they will remember her, because otherwise, are they going to stop Larry if they forget everything? What she did will be pointless otherwise. She also clearly stated at the end, someday, sometime, it will all come back to you. So yeah, Van will remember her, and eventually remind everyone else of her. The problem is that instead of only focusing on the Sept-Terrion, Van will also try to bring Agnes back, which she probably doesn't want him to do. The Vestige or even Kincaid may try to stop him from accomplishing that, though they probably have their own goal as well. In the end though, she will return to the group, probably around the middle of the game, but with her new power, when Van will confess he loves her. First, at what point in time will the next game start? Some month or week before the event horizon? Or before the entire Calvart arc? By watching the credits, it's implied we return to the start as if Daybreak 1 and 2 never happened. To be honest, I don't think that would make sense. What would have been the point of Daybreak 2 and 1 if all the event never happened? Too many important things occur. Ren overcoming her trauma, Quatrian jailed from reveal, Van defeating his demon, or Lapis being uncorrupted. It would be stupid to erase all that. It will also be quite difficult to resolve these issues all over again. For a full rewind of time, that would feel pointless. I also don't think players will really want that either. About the plot, here my speculation and theory. As I said earlier, time will probably rewind only a few months or weeks before the Grand Reset. Even though Agnes' existence is erased, the President will still work on the space project, but this time to save the country instead of Agnes. Kincaid will work again to ensure he doesn't fail this time, but he will also pursue his own motive. Like Horizon, there will probably be 3 routes again: Green, Kevin, and Van. Then in the finale, they will merge into one. The prologue may start with Van dreaming about the end of Horizon, getting Agnes' name before waking up. Following normal Forest PG, he will slowly begin to remember her. Van's story will mostly focus on our pride solution, trying to find Agnes and learn more about CM Stein and the Genesis. They will try to recover them in order to bring her back. However, Hamilton may not agree, and even Kincaid could oppose them, which will make him and the Vestige enemy once again. Barry will discover that the sniper is her future self. Iron will have a fight against his ancestor, the Tyrant. Elaine might fight Shayna Dork. As for Kincaid, we will learn more about the secret he's hiding. Then, around mid-game, Agnes finally returned and joined the group once again. Meanwhile, on Reen's side, he will have strange dreams about the event of Horizon, especially Yunka Fai saying, "Settle account with the Black God and find the Tachi within you." Reen would wake up and talk with Crow about the strange dream he had. He would ask Emma and maybe Elisa for help, as a connection with Vern Company would prove useful. Together they will return to Longlai and meet Shizuna for a duel. Reen will also ask Emma what she knew. In the end, they will finally settle account, and Reen will now be ready to find Itachi within himself. The group will work together to help Shizuna avoid losing control of the Black God powers. They may also go on a quest to reunite all the Divine Blade. We may briefly return to Crossbell, to meet Arias, McLean, and the SSS. This is where Lloyd may admit that perhaps Ishmega Reen was trying to warn him about a grand reset. Then they may contact Cassius. Though maybe Richard could become a new Divine Blade instead. I doubt it, but we can always dream. Eventually the group would decide to send Reen and Crow into space with Emilia. Finally, Kevin Roots, thanks to his stigma and Nina borrowed power, he kept most of his memory. He still has order to kill Hamilton, but now that he knows everything, he will instead try to capture and interrogate her about the Grand Reset and Epstein. He will once again seek the help of Rufus, Nyada and Swin, but also other allies. Why not Rise and maybe Gaius? Both were mentioned multiple times in the game, so they should appear. By tracking Hamilton, the Vestige Shanna Dirk and our friends might also show up. Aside from that, I'm not sure what else could happen in this route. Then in the end, our route will reunite into a final one when everyone is together. Similar to Reverie, aside from these three characters, here are the ones I think still remember the Event Horizon. Or at least fragments of them. The Grandmaster Ouroboros, of course, because if they want to continue their plan, they need to remember. Lapis, since she's a singularity. Nina, because she's a saint. Kincaid, the Vestiges. Roy and Rufus, because of their tie with the Divine Knight. In the end though, probably around mid-game, most people will remember again. Other characters may also show up, such as the SSS, Theo and Ellie were mentioned multiple times, and with Riksha and AU being involved, plus Ellie's father, it will make sense for the SSS to join. The same goes for McBurn, since Ouroboros keep talking about him. Speaking of the society, we would probably get the reveal of the Steel Maiden replacement, which I believe will be Aurelia. She will no doubt participate in the internal recurrence plan. And because the story involved Epstein, why not bring back Tita and Aliza too? I think that will mostly cover the new cast. Though Falcom can still surprise us. So that's mostly what I think would happen during the next game. We would have 3 routes that eventually merge together. During their quest, they will mostly find a Vestige, Kincaid, and a member of Ouroboros, who continue their plan after the Grand Reset. I don't fully understand what the plan involved, but it's probably to observe whether humanity can overcome the Sept-Terrion, and if possible, acquire it. They will likely cause distortion, an anomaly involving space and time. By the way, they have the Oreo, but the Grandmaster never used it. Could she be planning something with it? Maybe they would try to recover the Genesis and use them, because I'm pretty sure they still exist. Also, Professor Novartis may try to uncover more answers about his mentor. Aside from fighting our great enemies, we may return to the garden and pass through the portal the Grandmaster left open for us. We could learn more about McBurn, Mayor Origin, or even Marduk, the ancient family that received the Sept-Terrion of time from the goddess long ago. At least, I assume so. Then after this adventure, the final battle will happen. Green, Crow, and Rufus will go into space with Emilia, find a machine, and battle the Zolga Divine Knight. After defeating it, instead of attacking Larry Joint chest directly, they will enter inside it, which will become the final dungeon. Thanks to Emma and Anya's power, they will manage to teleport everyone inside. Like the Retributive Tower, all the heroes from each route will finally unite. Inside, they may fight Vestige, or member of Ouroboros. Then at the end, they fight the core of their joint chest itself. And by destroying it, the Grand Reset would stop forever, finally giving Zemuria a future. So that was everything I wanted to say about the ending of Trail Beyond the Horizon. There's still so much I would like to discuss, such as my theories about the Grandmaster, or my speculation about the story, if you truly return to the start of Daybreak. But that will be for another video. What about you guys? What do you think could happen? How far back do you think Agnes were on time? Please leave a comment. I'd love to know. If you enjoyed this video, I also make theory and speculation video about Genshin Impact. I also cover lore on this channel about the Legend of Zelda, Genshin Impact, the Trail series, and soon Final Fantasy XIV. If you're interested in my gaming content, I also do live stream on the Panagon gaming channel. Links in my social are in the description. And I usually go live most evening around 7 PM EST if you like to hang out. Thanks for watching, and may Adios watch over you. Dragons offline.